Hello, everybody. This is Brent Rose, and I'm just going to give you a quick walkthrough of my test footage of the Canon EOS R5 that goes along with my Gizmodo review. I'm not going to get too detailed or into the nitty-gritty here because I do that in the Gizmodo review, and I want to encourage you to read that because there's a lot more nuance than I can squeeze in here. Anyway, so let's get into it. So this is an 8K camera. It has a bunch of modes, including just the standard 4K, which is what you're seeing here. And it looks fine. It's actually, this is pretty decent. There's some weird purple artifacting because of the high ISO. But it's actually an 8K camera, and it's capable of shooting in HQ 4K mode, which basically takes the 8K image and squeezes it down to 4K for really high quality. And that's what you're seeing here in this shot. Now, this might not look different from the last shot you just saw, and I don't know that YouTube is going to capture the detail accurately, but this is a 300% crop here. And the detail on the right is just so much more crisp. You can see all kinds of texture in the leaves. The edges are way more crisp. It's really like night and day. So after that, I said, okay, we're just going to shoot in HQ mode from here on out. And that's what you're seeing here. This is straight out of camera, no color corrections at all. The general standard picture profile on Canon's stuff looks really good. It does a really nice job of color balancing and has a good amount of contrast. But if you really want to get into it, you want to shoot in C-Log, which is the flat 10-bit color profile, which is what this is. So this is flat, it looks kind of washed out, and now I've just applied a easy LUT from Canon and tweaked the colors a little bit, and it looks much more dynamic, as you can see. Here again, things look pretty good and the colors are nice, but I would have liked to have been able to bring up the shadows a little bit more, and this camera doesn't have quite as much dynamic range as you get out of Sony's, in my experience. It does pretty well in low light, I have to say, though. Considering it's a 45 megapixel camera, that really surprised me. For the photos, I had to do a lot of denoise applications in Lightroom, but I really didn't need to do much of that at all in Premiere to edit these shots. And these are shot at a pretty high ISO. I want to say this is probably 12,800. Unfortunately, that doesn't get stored in the metadata. This next shot here is definitely 12,800, as it was very dark. But now you can see it really is getting pretty noisy. And yet I was able to just tap and focus on the stars, which is pretty cool. Now, the camera can currently shoot 4K 60, which is what you're seeing here, although I messed up the shutter speed a little bit, so it's a little bit jaggy. It does have a high frame rate mode, which shoots at 4K 120, which is what you're now seeing here. And it looks good, but the problem is it slows it down in camera to 4K 30 automatically, which is really dumb if you're shooting a sequence in 4K 24, like this is. Other camera companies that have high frame rate modes like that allow you to control which the frame rate is that you're conforming it down into, and I don't know why Canon hasn't done that here. But the good news is the next firmware update, I believe, will allow you to shoot in 4K 120, and then you can just do whatever you want with it. So that's a good addition, but I wasn't able to test it here. And of course, this is an 8K camera, and I'd be remiss if I didn't show you any 8K footage, even if I can't really display it properly in this video. But this is an 8K shot in a C-Log, and it certainly is rather stunning, especially when you crop it in 200%, and it still looks really, really good in 4K at full size, even though this is a 200% crop, so you can do all kinds of stuff with stabilization and cropping, and yeah, sky's the limit. So that's very cool. Yet I would still highly encourage you to read the full review over at Gizmodo, because even though I think this footage looks really, really good, I think this is primarily a camera aimed at still photographers, not videographers, and I'll go into a lot of detail in the Gizmodo review when you read it. So thanks for watching, and have a nice one. Toodles.